George Austen is an author of serious fiction. He believes that romance is a worthless genre, until he's challenged to write a romance of his own by a rival. Of course, a very pretty rival. And along the way, he begins to question what love means and the people that love is meant to be shared with. The book is about reason and romance, the question of where logic and the mind stands in relation to love, as George wrestles through the idea of what romance means, even as he's writing a romance novel. I tell people that reason and romance is an object lesson in being careful what you joke about. See, I had told multiple people, well, I'd made the joke, that it'd be funny to see what a Jane Austen novel looked like from the man's perspective. And you know, the thing is, I told that joke about 5 or 6 different times, and then I found myself actually writing that book. By and large, most of the book is told from the male protagonist's perspective. We have interstitial moments where we hear from the female protagonist, but in general, almost the entire story is told from his point of view, which is something that typically doesn't come up in a romance novel. But since it hadn't really been done too much, or at least not to the extent that I had seen it, I thought it'd be interesting to see what that story looked like. How much different is the story the guy's telling it versus the girl? I'm definitely not George. He's already a successful novelist when he tries, and this is just my debut novel. So there is a wide degree of discrepancy between me and the main character. But there was some crossover, because when I first said, hey, I'm gonna write a romance novel, as you can imagine, being a single 20-something male, I met with a lot of sarcastic comments, jokes, skepticism, and that's the response that George gets when he first announces to his family, friends, and then the world that he's going to write a romance novel. It was something that worked very easily into the plot once I decided to make that announcement. The most pleasant surprise was when the characters start to take on lives of their own. It happens in narratives, and I think that as a writer, the best thing to do is set up the characters and then start seeing how they act as they begin to grow up and mature throughout the story. And I have one particular scene where 2 characters, the male protagonist George and the female protagonist Margaret, are playing a game of chess. And out of nowhere, after he's beaten her in the game, she makes an accusation that I didn't plan on. I didn't expect her to be that violently antagonistic at that point. I knew there'd be some conflict between the characters, but I didn't expect that that would happen. And that was really the moment where I realized that these characters were taking on lives of their own. And that can kind of be scary as an author, but at the same token, I was really excited to see that these were becoming real people on the page. The thing that was most unexpected was when I sent out early drafts to friends just to get their feedback, and almost universally the character that people like most, or at least the one that most people gravitated towards immediately, was Paulo. Paulo was meant to be a Mr. Collins character, someone that you found kind of annoying, but a lot of people found him genuinely endearing, or at least charming in the story. I don't see the attraction myself, but I'm really excited that people have globbed onto that character. The hardest part of writing the book, can I say selling the book? No, that's not okay. It's alright. You want to know the hardest part about actually writing the book. The hardest part of writing the book is after you're done writing it. And I say that more from the standpoint of editing. I wrote the book in less than a year, but then I spent about 8 months, if not more, just going over it again and again and again in the editing process. Now, some of that was taken care of by having an extremely good editor who corrected a lot of my grammar and mistakes that way. But in terms of actually story development, I went through about 4 drafts of the book. And they say, I saw an amazing tweet that was, write the book you want to read because you're going to read it 100 times, and I think that's thoroughly true. I don't know how many times I've read Reason and Romance at this point, but it feels like an awful lot. Somehow, now having the actual physical copy, it doesn't seem as difficult, and I actually kind of want to read it all over again.